Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another animation analysis. Today we have the 4.5th anniversary CG animation. Weird title, but I'll let it slide. I don't know anything about what's happening for this event, but it did seem from the thumbnail a little bit fall inspired. And since I figured I would be doing the Holy Night Light animation later this week anyway, that I might as well just do this one as well. Like, why not? So this is going to be a busy week for Arknights uploads. Either way, let's just give this one a watch. Let's see what it's all about and do the analysis, shall we? Let's go. Ooh, okay. Already they're playing around with the camera. Ooh, okay, so they're doing a lot. Oh my god. Okay, yeah. They're doing a lot right immediately. This is gorgeous. I think this might be this is the best looking animation I've seen from Arknights. I mean, there's a lot of good contenders that I've watched, but man, they've learned a lot through their time doing them, haven't they? There's going to be too much to talk about. There's going to be so much in the analytic part to discuss. Jeez, okay. Bruh. I'm finding myself in awe with some of the decisions being made here. This is really, really cool. Oh man. Oh man. Ooh. Okay. Have to take a look at that part a little bit closer. All right. There's just so many things. Every time I'm like, man, I should look at that closer. I see another part I need to look at closer. This is insanely well done. The techniques being utilized here. From colors to camera, certain effects, the lighting. There's so much to talk about. Ooh. Ooh. I like that ominous little bit at the end. Ooh. All right, and welcome to the analysis part of the video. So first thing to talk about really isn't anything too big, but all of these leaves, all of them, every single one of them, they have such high detail on these leaves. They're almost photorealistic. That is high poly count, high texture, quality assets. They're really, I mean, a lot of the stuff in this video, especially if you look at the textures of everything, are very, very high resolution. This extreme focus on realism is something that I've mentioned before with Arknights videos, like the Saltifera Novice video. There was the water was insanely high quality, and they paid a lot of attention to how water looks and feels in motion. And this is very much the same for like leaves and general textures. This entire video, of course, utilizing those colors of autumn and these filters over some of these shots that make everything feel a little bit more orange and kind of hazy. There's a lot in here. There's some volumetric work that makes it feel a little bit more cold and a little bit more just settled in and aged and worn. These are all things that kind of give you that visual pull towards the autumn season, and these are just beautiful assets. These are so pretty to look at in motion. Even just standing alone, you can see the amount of effort and beauty that is put into every single one of these. This camera shot here is another thing I really like. This is a little bit more simple, but it's very effective. The carrying through the POV of the character that we are watching through. This is something I don't think I've seen in an Arknights project yet, where like this POV is quite so well focused on the characters that the character is looking at, everything out in the foreground and background even. And I like that they're putting more effort into shots like these, making them feel really personal and making you feel like you're going along for that visual ride, especially when the characters at this distance are fairly low in resolution. They don't have details in the faces. You can see simplified shapes of like the legs. They're not super detailed, and that's fine at a distance. And I like that they're putting in that extra effort to make them feel a little bit further away. I also do like the little camera turn here as she's kind of peeking around this pillar. This is neat. I really like the personality in this shot. Now, this little moment here is definitely something that I'm only picking on because I appreciate it as a shot, and this is a step up from the Yostar event video where they were playing the instruments, not really playing the instruments, and while I know that there's that context of they were faking it, even the characters in those shots that weren't supposed to be faking their instruments looked like they were because the animators didn't animate them quite right. And that's fine. Animators don't have to look at constant reference in order to get characters that are frankly background characters or not really necessary to focus on the perfect movements. This shot, while I am not a cellist and I do not know how to play it, it feels very good because they're doing little things to make the character feel like they're playing. Even if the notes aren't correct, again, I don't know, I don't play it, but doing things like adding the vibrato hand motion and like having those sorts of characteristics in the character playing are little ways that are specific to an instrument that make even those who do play the instrument appreciate the piece of animation is trying. It's the same kind of thing where like if I'm watching animated drums happen, I don't mind if they look really bad as long as you get like the snare right and maybe the cymbal crashes, you know, little things like that. This is kind of the same for me, where I feel because they're doing the vibrato hand and just working on those little tiny details, that even if the notes are incorrect, it feels like they're putting in that extra effort. I like it. You know, it's just the tiniest details. You can appreciate that. And I like that they had somebody animate that in and actually put in that effort, especially because it's such a focus on the hand for this shot. I also really like transitions like this. As simple as they are very effective for pulling a very specific mood out or a very specific reference to something. In this case, I don't know what these characters' relationship is. I don't know what the powers of this character is on screen right now. I don't know if this is kind of like a mental game of chess. I don't know if there's some sort of like reality warping happening. But I really do like these masking transitions because they're following the rules for these masking transitions to make them work. For example, as this leaf goes back over this character, there isn't a single part of the main body that isn't being covered by this leaf, which makes that transition that much easier to do. However, you'll notice by looking right here at this larger spot out of frame, the leaf doesn't necessarily cover it for these frames here. It just kind of boop, gone. It's just out of reality. It happens. You know, you can't get things perfectly covering a screen every single time, but as long as you get the main body where the eyes are drawn, especially in our case, our eyes are mostly being drawn right here, not because it's a different character, but because the eyes are so heavy on the focus. The light in them, this color here, is what's popping on screen. It's brighter than this and these, which are similar colors, but not nearly as saturated and bright, so your eyes are drawn to her eyes. And when this transition happens and it goes back, you get another little sense of this contrast here because her eyes are very muted compared to the brighter reds, you know, the deeper colors in here. You get this kind of soft palette blue that is still very striking and very noticeable. These are little things, both character design and shot, color, if lighting wise, all of these factors play to making transitions like that work without you noticing little pieces like that thing just kind of booping out of existence because who else would notice, right? You're looking at the eyes. I also really love this shot. This is a simple shot, and I'm just letting it play through here. I love the transition here. What I love about it is all of the leaves, that visual busyness, having all this stuff on screen, making that transition not only feel a little bit more powerful, but also leads the eye. Having all of the direction visually going this way makes your eyes go, oh, we're going this way. So you follow it, you watch it, you know what's happening on screen, and you're watching the character go through that motion as well. It's a great way to lead the direction of the viewer's mind and their expectations of what's about to happen. These are the things that make visual shots like this, these heavy visually impactful shots, so memorable, and they really do help with that, you know, just keeping the mind attentive to what's about to happen. You can lead a lot of information if you let the viewer know ahead of time, even if subconsciously like this, that there is something about to happen. Now here we are at a shot that I'm not 100% on because it is a little bit jarring. I feel like they could have done another transition where they had some visual busyness happen, having a piece of paper float over or something to hide this transition, but she just kind of pops in there and it's just like, okay, I get why they did that. I understand that there is the limitation of like how to travel the shot from that to that, but the problem here is mostly that they are such distinct different models that it does not flow well from here to here. I would probably say waiting till about here to switch would have been a little bit better, purely because right here is in my opinion, better line that would have matched a little bit more with this character's hair right here as that transition were to cross over. It is something small, but I probably would have waited till here or here personally to make that model transition, just because you don't have so much of this hood causing so much bulk and her hair is a little bit more full compared to the character with the thinner hair. There's a lot going on here, but that's just a personal nitpick. It's not a bad shot. I just wish that they hit it a little bit better because there were options to take. I don't know if they tried, they might have, but that's just my own piece, you know? I'm also going to mention this here just so I don't have to bring it up again. I love this reference here to MC Escher's famous painting. This is really cool. His whole art style has similar things here, but I really like that throughout this sequence, they really do play into that MC Escher moving on different platforms, different levels, and like playing around in that 3D space and using that visual confusion to make the main character confused as well as the viewer just slightly. Kind of makes you go, what's happening here? You know, I like it. It's a good reference. It's a great visual aesthetic to utilize in such a surrealist kind of way. That's kind of the whole point of that painting as well. I just like that they did it. That's all I wanted to say, but I wanted to bring it up so I'm not constantly mentioning it. I mentioned the lighting earlier in this video, but I really wanted to mention it here just because of how aggressive the volumetrics look on this character model. They are so dense. The lines are so clear of like where all of the light is hitting, especially on this pleating on her like headdress hood thing. I love that. It really does shine. It's not supposed to be a pun, but you get the point. on this shot. It just looks really good. There's a few other shots that look like that, but this is one of my favorites, so I figured I would highlight it here and now. So yeah, just great lighting. And here I wanted to mention something that might just be me noticing it. It might not be an actual accident, an actual like animation error here, but it does seem that there's a little bit of a physics error right here and right here in the next couple of frames. As I click through here, you'll see what I mean. Then I'll play it in full speed. But as you're going through, you kind of there's no there. I know she's moving, but they move at very like inappropriate spots. There, like you get this little lift here. There's really no reason for that. The little collar right there kind of moves, and you see while she's standing here doing it, it's very odd. Like there's no chest movement to indicate that part, like right now she's kind of moving her shoulder, that part would move. There was a little bit too little movement for the earlier little bits. This is something that right there did it again. It's like it could not be an error, but it could be a physics pass error, which those happen often. It's extremely difficult to get the perfect physics pass. There's so many factors in rendering out physics in CG, and it can be a pain in the butt. So little tiny ones like this probably went completely unnoticed, but it's just something I wanted to bring up. Not so much of a gripe as much as it is a potential issue of not really having the full physics completely locked in. But like I said, re-rendering just to fix that would have been a complete waste of time and money. So 100% leave it alone. That's one of those things where it's just you take what you get and don't really look at it too close. But looking at things too close is kind of my job here. At first, I wasn't entirely sure if this shot here was a singular shot of this character just doing her thing, and then all of the lighting and all of the color on her face was just hue shifted to the more orangish yellow of the other room. And because all of these change and the paper that's flying up behind her all change around the same angle, and it's not really anything too hard to do, would just be having her rendered out separately along with the like pages floating up, and then just transitioning the background on its own layer underneath the character model. That would have been one way to do this shot, but they did re-render everything. And the reason that I know this is because of right here. Watch that gap between her hair and the cello, and I will go through this frame by frame. Bop, 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 right there. Here, nothing. There, something. Here, nothing. There, something. There's a completely different light pass on not only her hair here, but also this weird, I don't know, spiky thing that comes out of her. Again, I don't know the character like that. So it's this, I believe, is actually completely unique to this shot. This, this color angle here is completely new. So there's a new light source, like down back here behind the character, that is shining up and into the little spikes here, makes everything kind of feel a little bit more alive. And I believe that they just transitioned between two of the exact same animation shots of this character and just re-rendered her in the new space with the new light, just to make everything balance out color-wise. So not really so much of an error as it is a something that they probably should have handled better on this shot, was handling the light coming in from down here so that sudden jolt of color didn't happen, because you do see the color change down here as well, but it's more of a gradual shift. So that new light kind of transitioning on there, that feels better compared to this one just kind of popping into existence and all of that color down there being added out of nowhere. It is a very small thing, but I would classify that personally as maybe an error. Just a lighting change would have fixed it. But, being a nitpick, here's my job. And this shot here is really cool as well, because again, I can't really tell how they did it. I want to say that the way that they may have done it is all one shot. All of these were mirrored in the same shot, and then the backgrounds were just skewed as things went, like they are all live in one shot. skewed appropriately to make this camera going through all these work, but there's also ways to do it with having the camera move through a standard shot, warping it afterwards, but I don't think it's that because the characters aren't too warped compared to the floors and the walls. So this is a really interesting shot. I would like to know how they did this shot exactly, if it was all in one file or if it was like stitched together and they just kind of layered them together in a post process and like had the camera go through each one and then stitch them all together and had them kind of end at the seams where the next one began, so it looked like all one continuous shot. There's a few ways to have made this shot work, but I'm really curious to what that is. So if anyone ever finds or knows about a behind the scenes for this one, I hope that they include this because I would love to see how they actually did this shot. This shot here, while being really cool, and I love the concept of the bricks coming apart and then rearranging themselves into the other bridge, there are a few moments in this where the bricks don't quite figure themselves out, and that is fine. I don't want to make this like it's an animation error thing, because you need more bricks in order to make a different type of bridge look right visually. So you can see going through this frame by frame, there are bricks down in this void over here and over here that will just kind of come up from that dark void that have nothing to do with the original bridge. That's fine. But then you also get little ones like, I think my favorite one here is this one, where like, if you focus on specifically this brick right here, another one in the next like frame goes boop, and then it's got like a brother that just kind of pops into existence before it pops out of existence. These little things, again, not calling them errors because in motion they look completely fine and they're not too distracting if you don't notice them, but it's just one of those things. They're basically stitching together two completely different animation like sequences and just slapping them as best they can together, maybe editing some bricks around to kind of lay where they should, because some do go where they're supposed to and they don't kind of disappear into nothing. And there's a lot of little things with this many moving pieces and parts that can be very difficult to make it work. So I appreciate this being done so well, and despite seeing a few of the weird blocks popping in and out and noticing things like that, it's a very, very well done shot, and I really like how it was done. I especially like later on how the bridge kind of folds up this never before seen, like edge to it. Like that came out of nowhere. That wasn't a part of the original bridge. So little things like that. I think that that's really cool, having it kind of fold up, kind of peeling in reverse. I like that. That's really neat. Nothing really too much to talk about on this shot. I just wanted to point out how neat it is. This is what I call the poster shot, the trailer shot, like the really cool shot that you can like make into a background on your computer and it just looks sick. I love how that was done. I've seen a few of these done between the Arknights videos, and even the Genshin animations have shots like this where you're like, man, I could hang that on a wall, and this is definitely one of them. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's plenty more I could have talked about, but I just wanted to focus on a few because there's just so much in that video that's good. The physics, the lighting, everything I've talked about. There is so many more examples of great uses of each one, and I really like this one. So now I'm getting even more excited to get to the Holy Night Light one. I really don't know how long that video is going to be because I know the animation is close to 10 minutes. So that could be getting over an hour in editing. I'm not sure how many things I'm going to be able to talk about, but I guess we'll find out when that video comes out, won't we? If you want to see that, by all means, you know how to follow me and support me and all that. And if you like this video and you want to see more, that's exactly what you do. You follow me, you support me, and you'll be here when I do the next one. So without further ado, thank you all so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!